The story opens with Charlotte, a gifted cello prodigy whose career was cut short when she stepped away from music to care for her sick mother. For years, she devoted herself entirely to looking after her, but after her mother's passing, Charlotte finds herself at a crossroads. Wanting to reconnect with her old life, she reaches out to Anton, her former mentor and the head of the prestigious Bachoff Academy of Music in Boston, where she had once studied. At this point, Anton, his wife Paloma, and his two trusted assistants, Jeffrey and Theus, are in Shanghai. When Charlotte arrives in Shanghai, she notices posters of a new star student, Elizabeth Lizzie Wells, the rising talent who had stepped into Charlotte's place after she left. Seeing Lizzie's success stirs a flicker of jealousy. Charlotte soon attends one of Anton's audition events. There, Anton and Paloma immediately recognize her, overjoyed to see their long-lost student again, and warmly invite her to sit in on the auditions. Among the judges is none other than Lizzie, now celebrated for her flawless technique and fame as Anton's prized protege. When Lizzie and Charlotte finally meet, the two bond quickly, sharing a mutual admiration for each other's artistry. Lizzie even admits that Charlotte was her original inspiration to take up the cello. After the auditions, she invites Charlotte to spend time with her, and the two grow close, enjoying each other's company. Later, Anton asks Lizzie to perform for visiting delegates. Lizzie agrees, but only on the condition that Charlotte join her on stage as a partner. Together, they deliver a breathtaking duet that captivates everyone in the audience. The scene then shifts to the two celebrating afterward, partying, dancing, and becoming intimate. Their connection deepens, and by the end of the night, they are seen lying side by side in a hotel room, both revealing matching tattoos on their shoulders. The next day, Lizzie convinces Charlotte to join her on a trip to southern China. Charlotte happily agrees. After a night of heavy drinking with Chinese vodka, both women wake up hungover. Lizzie struggles with a pounding headache, and Charlotte gives her some ibuprofen before they head out to travel. They stop at a roadside restaurant before boarding a worn-down bus, but the food doesn't sit well with them, so they leave quickly. On the bus, Lizzie's condition worsens. Despite taking pills, she's hit with severe stomach pain and nausea. Charlotte desperately asks the bus driver to pull over, but he doesn't understand English, making the situation tense. Thankfully, another passenger translates, and the driver reluctantly stops, clearly annoyed by the delay. After vomiting and briefly recovering, Lizzie gets back on board, but her sickness soon returns. This time, she frantically tries to open a window to throw up but fails, and ends up vomiting all over the glass instead. Charlotte is startled when she notices something disturbing in Lizzie's vomit. It's swarming with insects. Convinced that Lizzie might be suffering from some horrifying illness, panic sets in. Lizzie suddenly begins screaming and sobbing on the bus, slamming her head against the window in desperation. The commotion terrifies the driver, who abruptly throws both women off and drives away, leaving them stranded in the middle of nowhere. As they stumble along the road, Lizzie vomits again, and more bugs spill out. Moments later, she sees them crawling beneath the skin of her right hand, writhing as if they're about to burst out. Both women scream in terror. In desperation, Charlotte hands Lizzie a cleaver, urging her to cut the bugs out before it's too late. Overcome with fear and pain, Lizzie makes a horrifying choice. She chops off her own hand, but then, the truth is revealed. In a series of flashbacks, it's shown that Charlotte had orchestrated the entire ordeal. The ibuprofen she gave Lizzie wasn't pain medication at all, but hallucinogens prescribed to her late mother. The insects Lizzie saw were nothing more than drug-induced visions. She was never actually infected. The film jumps forward 3 weeks. Lizzie appears at the gates of the Bachoff Academy, broken and missing a hand. Anton is horrified by her condition and rushes her inside. Through tears, Lizzie explains everything to Anton and Paloma, accusing Charlotte of drugging her and tricking her into self-mutilation. But legally, nothing can be done because Lizzie had harmed herself. Believing Charlotte acted out of jealousy, Lizzie begs Anton to allow her back into the academy. Anton coldly rejects her, saying she's worthless now that she can't play the cello. Enraged, Lizzie storms out, smashing a framed photo of Charlotte on her way. Blinded by vengeance, Lizzie tracks Charlotte down to her Minneapolis home. She ambushes her with a taser, knocks her unconscious, ties her up, and stuffs her into the trunk of her car before driving her back to the academy. Anton, pleased to have Charlotte in his grasp again, welcomes her inside. When Charlotte regains consciousness, he demands to know why she tried to ruin Lizzie. Charlotte then explains her real reason. She wasn't trying to destroy Lizzie, she was trying to save her. The story shifts to Charlotte's past. As a young student at Bachoff, she too had been one of Anton's star proteges, but behind closed doors, every mistake she made was punished with cruelty and abuse. Anton exploited her, and Jeffrey, his loyal assistant, not only condoned it but actively participated. Back in the present, Charlotte reveals that she spent years in treatment trying to recover from the trauma. When she saw the musical tattoo on Lizzie's back, a mark she knew all too well, she realized Lizzie was trapped in the same nightmare she once endured. Her only goal was to free Lizzie before Anton could fully break her. Hearing her accusations, Anton erupts in rage and viciously attacks Charlotte. Charlotte tries to flee, but Anton strikes her across the face, knocking her out cold. When she comes to, she's on stage, dressed up and tied tightly to a chair under the spotlight. Anton then lays out his twisted terms. She can earn her freedom if she performs the cello flawlessly, without a single mistake. To heighten the cruelty, Lizzie, Jeffrey, and Paloma gather around as spectators. Anton adds an even more disturbing threat. If Charlotte falters, she won't be the one punished. Instead, he will take it out on Zhang Li, a young student who has just arrived from Shanghai. Horrified, Charlotte insists that she can't play at the same level as before, but Anton ignores her pleas. When he places his hands on the terrified girl, Charlotte has no choice but to pick up the bow. She plays with everything she has, trying desperately not to slip, but inevitably, she makes a minor mistake, one Anton immediately seizes on. With a chilling smile, he tells Paloma to escort Zhang Li to bed, and reveals his real plan. The punishment will fall on Charlotte after all. He commands Lizzie, Jeffrey, and Theus to do whatever they please with her, instructing them to call him back once she stops fighting. Charlotte, still bound, can only watch as Jeffrey and Theus move in menacingly. Lizzie then steps forward, demanding that she be the first to torment Charlotte, since Charlotte was the one who ruined her life. The men restrain Charlotte, spreading her legs apart as Lizzie approaches, but before she can act, both men suddenly collapse to the ground. Shocked, Charlotte realizes that Lizzie had secretly poisoned their drinks earlier when asked to serve them. With Jeffrey and Theus out of the way, Lizzie turns to Charlotte, and instead of harming her, the two women embrace and share a kiss. The scene then rewinds to when Lizzie first stormed into Charlotte's apartment. After incapacitating her with the taser, she uncovered the truth about Anton and his followers. Flashbacks take us back to the night Lizzie lost her hand, when Charlotte explained that she orchestrated the ordeal to save her from Anton's abuse. She admitted the extreme plan was the only way she could think of to protect Lizzie from being trapped in the same nightmare she endured. Now, with the truth laid bare, Lizzie forgives her. The two women form an alliance, vowing to take down Anton and his corrupt circle once and for all, not only for themselves, but to save the other girls from the same cycle of exploitation and torment. Meanwhile, Anton sits in his room, sipping wine as he waits for news about Charlotte. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's Paloma. Anton casually asks if she put Lizzie to bed, but Paloma just stands there in silence, her face pale. Before Anton can process her silence, she staggers forward and collapses. Moments later, Charlotte and Lizzie appear behind her, revealing that they had already stabbed Paloma in the back. Shocked, Anton barely has time to react before Lizzie charges at him with a knife. Anton, ever cunning, tries to feign illness to avoid the attack, but Lizzie doesn't buy it. She lunges forward, and Charlotte joins in the assault. Despite being outnumbered, Anton manages to fight back with brutal strength, injuring them both. At one point, he drives a knife into Charlotte's hand, splitting it open in a horrifying scene. But Lizzie regains her strength and, fueled by rage, grabs a cleaver. She unleashes her fury, hacking at Anton repeatedly until he is left helpless and mutilated. In the chilling final scene, Charlotte and Lizzie perform a hauntingly beautiful cello duet together. Both improvise their playing, each using only one hand. Sitting before them is Anton, now a broken shell of a man, his arms and legs severed, his eyes and mouth sewn shut, left with nothing but his ears to listen to their performance.